Hello and welcome to another session in our teaching series, Hidden Facts in Biology. Now we are going to be looking at the respiratory system. As an introduction, we will be defining what respiration is. Respiration is defined as a process by which glucose is broken down in the cell by a series of reactions that is controlled by enzymes to release energy which is needed for specific and important activities in living organism. So during the process of respiration, we breathe in oxygen, and the oxygen which is given by the symbol O2 that we breathe in is used to break down the food molecules so that energy in the food can be released for various activities. And also carbon dioxide, that is CO2, water given as H2O, and alcohol are also released, but this depends on whether oxygen is used or not for respiration. So we can see that respiration helps to release energy that is needed for specific and various important activities in living organism. This process of respiration has stages. We'll be talking about the stages of respiration now. What are the stages of respiration? There are two stages of respiration, and these are explained below. One of the stage is the stage of external respiration. One of the stage is the stage of external respiration, and this is also known as breathing. In this stage, what is involved is that this stage is the process by which gases are exchanged. The gases are exchanged between the environment and the respiratory organs of living organism. This stage is also called gaseous exchange stage, and it involves the entry of oxygen and exit of carbon dioxide from the cell. The second stage of respiration is the stage of internal or tissue respiration. This stage is also known as the stage of cellular respiration, and this stage involves the process whereby organic food substances within the cell, mostly in the organelle known as the mitochondria, are oxidized, and this will lead to the release of energy, carbon dioxide, and water. It is important for you to know that before oxidation, energy is usually stored in food substances as a form known as the potential energy. But this potential energy is later converted into kinetic energy, which will be used for work after oxidation. The stage of internal respiration can be represented, and the equation is given below. So this is the equation, and in this equation we see that the glucose, which is given as C6H12O6, or the food substance, is added upon by oxygen, that is, it is oxidized by the 6 molecules of oxygen, and the product of this reaction is 6 molecules of water, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, and energy is released or produced. We can therefore say that the sole aim of respiration is to provide energy which the body needs for various life processes. Having a look at the definition of respiration and the different stages of respiration, now we are going to be talking about the different respiratory structures. In the respiratory system, there are various organs or structures which are responsible for the exchange of oxygen required for oxidation and carbon dioxide, that is CO2, produced by respiration. The taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide is known as gaseous exchange or breathing. These respiratory structures that we are talking about, they have different characteristics that make them peculiar. So now we will be looking at the characteristics of the respiratory surfaces or organs. Characteristics of respiratory surface or organs. They are listed below. Number 1. The respiratory organs has a large surface area through which gaseous exchange takes place by diffusion. 2. The respiratory surface is usually moist so that gases can dissolve in the moisture on the surface and then diffuse into or out of the organ as the case may be. 3. The respiratory surface is supplied with a large number of blood capillaries so that gaseous exchange can take place between the blood in the capillaries and the air or water in contact with the respiratory surface. 4. There is a thin layer of cells separating the blood capillaries and the respiratory surface so that diffusion distance between the respiratory surface and the blood is short. 5. Respiratory surface are permeable so that oxygen and CO2 can pass freely. 6. Respiratory surface must have adequate supply of transport medium, e.g. blood. After looking at the characteristics of the respiratory surface, let us look at the different types of the respiratory systems. Types of respiratory systems. The respiratory system consists of specific structures and organs which are used for gaseous exchange in plants and animals. Different respiratory structures can be found in various organisms, and these depend on their types, the complexity, the size, and habitat in which these organisms are found. We are going to be listing some of these organisms and their respiratory structure or organ. We do that in a tabular form. So now we'll look at different organisms and their respiratory structure and organ. First of all, let's look at unicellular organisms like amoeba and paramecium. First of all, let's look at unicellular organisms like amoeba and paramecium. The respiratory structure or organ of this organism is their body surface. For organisms such as hydra and tapeworm, they have their cell membrane as their respiratory structure. For the earthworm has its wet skin or moist body surface as its respiratory structure. For fishes, e.g. tilapia, they have gills as their respiratory structure or organ. For arthropods, e.g. insects, they have the tracheal system or the spiracle as their respiratory structure. They have the tracheal system or spiracle as their respiratory structure. For arachnids, e.g. spider, they have the long books as their respiratory structure. For tadpoles, they use their gills as their respiratory structure. For amphibians, e.g. the adult toad, they use their mouth, which is the buccal cavity, their skin, and their lungs for their respiratory structure. For mammals, reptiles, and apes, that is the birds, they have their lungs as their respiratory structure. For flowering plants, the flowering plants have the stomata, which is on leaves, and lenticels, which is on stem, as their respiratory structure. So we have come to the end of the teaching. Now we'll be taking some questions. First example we'll take says respiration in amoeba is through the A. Contractile vacuum by the process of diffusion. B. Food vacuum by cyclosis. C. Exchange of gases between its vascular system and cytoplasm. D. Body surface by the process of diffusion. E. Nucleus and the environment. Answer. The answer to this question is D. And this is because amoeba respires through its body surface by the process of diffusion. It is able to do this because it has a large surface area to volume ratio. So the next question. The next question says the mechanism of gaseous exchange in living organisms is essentially by A. Osmosis, B. Inhalation, C. Diffusion, D. Exhalation, E. Breathing. The answer to this is C, and this is because gaseous exchange is achieved by the process of diffusion. So our next question says the condition that ensure successful exchange of gases in multicellular organisms include the following, except A. Concentration gradient across the respiratory surface. B. Presence of thin membrane as the respiratory surface. C. Last transportation of absorbed gases. D. Presence of large surface area of the respiratory organ. E. Presence of small dry surface area of the respiratory organ. The correct answer to this question is E, and this is because respiratory surfaces are usually moist. So the option E would be wrong because the option E says presence of small dry surface area of the respiratory organ. In other words, the presence of small dry surface area of the respiratory organ will not aid the exchange of gases in multicellular organisms. This brings us to the end of the examples. Now we'll be looking at some exercises. These are the exercises. These exercises are seen in our textbook Hidden Facts in Biology, page 160. And the answer to this exercise is present in the exercise section, both in our soft copies and hard copies. Thank you for listening.